What is going on, Raptors Nation? Luca here, back with another video. The Raptors season is finally here. We're a couple days away from the Raptors regular season commencing, as the Raptors will take on the Minnesota Timberwolves on opening night. So on this one, I wanted to do just a quick Raptors 2023-2024 season preview, go over some of the expectations I have for the players on this roster, and then tell you ultimately how I see this team faring this season, as the Eastern Conference shaping up to being a situation where outside of the top two, there could be an opportunity for a team like the Raptors to step in and make possibly some noise. So we're going to take a look at all that and more. Before we dive right into it, please do me a solid favor, hit a like on the video. It helps it a ton. And please subscribe to the channel for more Raptors content just like this. I will be covering every single game this season, going either live or doing a pre-recorded post-game video after every single one of the Raptors games. So you definitely don't want to miss that. We're also going to have content up on the website for the season over at raptorsnation.com. So a lot of Raptors content over here on our YouTube channel and at raptorsnation.com, as we are going to have you covered from A to Z when it comes to your Toronto Raptors. So let's take a look at this roster for the Raptors. First, I want to say this. The Raptors passed their preseason test with flying colors. They were undefeated, perfect in the preseason for the first time in franchise history. And as a fan, you got to feel good about what you saw. And hopefully they can carry that play into the regular season where it matters and where it counts. So you take a look at the Raptors starting lineup. We'll begin with that. Dennis Schroeder will be the team's starting point guard. And my expectations for Dennis Schroeder is as follows. I don't think the offense is going to run through Dennis Schroeder as it did with Schroeder on Team Germany, leading them to gold. But I think Dennis Schroeder can be a true traditional point guard and get his teammates involved. And if Dennis Schroeder can mimic the type of performance he had against the Bulls on a consistent basis, against the Wizards on a consistent basis, where Schroeder had 11 assists in 24 minutes, I think that's all you can ask for if you're the Raptors, because Dennis Schroeder obviously isn't going to be able to shoot the ball consistently from three. And, we're going to see nights where he does struggle to get his shot falling, but he can help this team in other ways. He can help this team with the playmaking, getting others involved with his high energy. You saw Schroeder even on the bench, getting up on his feet every time a Raptor player put up a shot in the second half of that preseason game against the Wizards. So Dennis Schroeder, you can tell he enjoys being here and he's getting along well with the other players. And I think Dennis Schroeder can just be that high character, true point guard type of player on this team. And again, if Dennis Schroeder can look to get that assist number high, that will just be beneficial for everybody, because he knows that he's going to have to defer to other guys on this team. So it seems like Dennis Schroeder is aware of his role on this Raptors starting lineup. Okay, next, let's take a look at Scottie Barnes. Oh boy, this is going to be the guy where we're all keeping an eye out for throughout this entire season. I think it's going to be a lot of fun watching Scottie play, and we're all expecting that giant third-year leap from Scottie Barnes. And you got to be feeling good about what Scottie Barnes can bring to the table. He literally looked like a star in the making in the preseason. Barnes, I know we don't want to count preseason stats, but just to give you an idea of how well this guy was playing, Barnes in 21 minutes per game in the preseason averaged 17 points, 6 rebounds, 3.7 assists on 59% shooting from the field and 50% shooting from deep. And he was tremendous on the defensive end as well. He had a 4-block performance against the Chicago Bulls. So, if Scottie Barnes can give you this consistently throughout the regular season, he's going to leap. He is going to enter that next level. And it's great to see Barnes get those shooting percentages up. From the field, 50% from deep is unrealistic over the course of a season. But if he can bump up those shooting averages from a season ago, which I think he will, that's going to just help his game entirely. And then even the little things I've noticed about Barnes, he looks more confident. He looks more aggressive, looking to attack the basket more, and he just seems dialed in. So Scottie Barnes, he's got his body ready. He did a lot of conditioning this offseason. I'm looking for Scottie Barnes to really take that leap, and I think that's going to be a big reason why the Raptors exceed expectations this season. So that is going to be a very interesting thing to watch this season as a Raptor fan, the development and growth of Scottie Barnes, especially under new head coach Darko Rajakovic, who is a player development guy. Okay, next, OG Anunoby. So it would be nice if we see more offense from Anunoby, but in terms of what I expect from him, I mean, his 3-point game is solid. You know what you're going to get from that. And Anunoby's just going to be that guy who's going to get the toughest assignment each and every night. And you know he's going to thrive with that responsibility. And we saw it. Again, I know it's just a preseason game, but he absolutely locked up Jordan Poole, who had an abysmal shooting performance. So if Anunoby can be that defensive specialist and he can, help contain the other team's best player, that's all you can ask for if you're the Raptors. So this is a guy who's a true 3-and-D player. I mean, he's going to be your best defensive player. He's going to be locked in on the defensive end, guard the other team's best player, and then he's a guy who can hit threes on the offensive side as well. So look for OG Anunoby, who is set to become an unrestricted free agent in the summer of 2024, to have a big season. Okay, next we got Pascal Siakam, and he's entering an all-important contract year. There has been no extension yet. Siakam, we know if he makes the All-NBA team this season, he will be eligible for a Supermax deal in the summer of 2024. And I think Siakam, it's going to be interesting to see how he plays alongside Scottie Barnes, because I've said this before. I think we will get to a point where this does feel like Scottie Barnes' team. But at the same time, I think we could see this 1-2 punch of Barnes and Siakam play well together and coexist. And we saw it in that game against the Bulls. Both guys played at a high level. They both got their numbers. And I think Siakam, he might have a few less touches, but he's still going to be an impactful player. And I look for Siakam to be aggressive as well, get to the free throw line, generate that way, especially if his shot isn't falling. But, Siakam is going to have a lot of attention on him, and, he's going to want to go out there and perform at his highest level, especially since he's on a contract year. So I do think we're going to get an all-star type of season from Siakam, or borderline all-star type of season from him. And I think he and Scottie Barnes are going to have a lot to prove. And again, if that tandem can live up to some of the expectations that we've placed on it, I mean, they're going to be a big reason why the Raptors move up the standings. So that Siakam and Barnes duo, I'm looking forward to seeing. But for Siakam, I think we'll get, a similar borderline type of all-star campaign from him. You look at Jakob Poeltl, he's going to be the veteran center in the starting lineup. I think, you can count on him with his rim protection. It's going to be huge having a guy like Poeltl in the lineup, especially when the Raptors play bigger teams. And we're going to see that Wednesday night when they welcome in Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns. Having Poeltl in the paint is going to make all the difference in the world. And then I think on offense, I mean, he can do a good job with, his passing ability. I think he's a very underrated passer. Darko Rajakovic said he wants to include him more on offense. And I think, when you look at Jakob Poeltl, he will have an opportunity to showcase some of those passing skills and do a little bit more playmaking as well. Okay, so that is the Raptors starters. Now let's take a look at the Raptors bench. So Malachi Flynn's finally going to get the backup point guard role that he's long desired. He is going to be a feature guy of that second unit, it appears. I mean, he got a ton of minutes in the preseason. And for Malachi, you just hope he can hit that shot with consistency, that three ball. And defensively, he's been a little bit shaky, but if he can just zero in and look the part on defense, I think Malachi will continue to get minutes as Darko trusts him. And we see it. Darko, he's got, he's a lot more high on Flynn than obviously Nick Nurse was early on. You can see it. And I think Malachi just has to play controlled basketball, not get too sloppy out there, limit the mistakes. And again, what's going to be key is just him being able to hit that shot with consistency, not having 0-4 nights like he had in that one outing in the preseason. And then the sixth man for the Raptors is going to be Gary Trent Jr. He will be indeed the feature man of that second unit for the Raptors. And I think Gary Trent Jr. is ready to embrace this role. He obviously would prefer to start, but I think Gary Trent Jr. can be an impactful sixth man for this team. And I mean, if Gary Trent Jr. really buys into this role, I think he could be, one of the top sixth men in the league. And we've seen it already. Like, he can come in, inject instant offense, be the guy that gets the offense going, uplifts the offense. And then we saw a little bit of the playmaking that he's capable as well, getting his teammates involved. He had 4 assists in that game against the Bulls. So I think Gary Trent Jr. can really be the leader and obviously the main guy of the second unit. So I look for a big year from Gary Trent Jr., who does seem to be having the right attitude with coming from off the bench. As you look at Chris Boucher, I think, he's going to be that guy, high energy, and he can also be a disruptor on defense with his length as well. So Chris Boucher, we'll see how he looks in the second unit as, he figures to get a rotation spot as well. And then Precious Achiuwa, this is a guy who I got my eye out for. You look at Precious, he's still so young, so much untapped potential. How is he going to play under Darko Rajakovic? I think Precious's ball handling needs to get better. But, if Achiuwa can solidify himself on offense and defense and become a staple of the Raptors' second unit alongside of Gary Trent Jr., that's going to be huge for him. Then you look at Jalen McDaniels. I think he's going to get a rotation spot. He's been a very good rotation player for the Raptors, and he's shown us a lot of good things in the preseason, and I really like what McDaniels brings to this team. And this is a guy who can, hit the three, he plays well defensively. So this was actually one of my favorite additions that the Raptors made, a very underrated addition that they made in the offseason. So I think McDaniels is going to get a lot of minutes. Grady Dick. I think Grady Dick is going to be a work in progress. Darko kind of alluded to it. It's going to be a slow-moving process from him. But Grady Dick, I really want to see his development this season. This is a guy who's proven to be more than just a sharpshooter, and we've seen it already in the preseason. He's able to run well without the basketball, and, he's able to put the ball on the deck, which is good to see. And if Grady Dick can get better defensively and then he hits that shot with consistency, as we saw him in the final preseason game, hitting that three ball, hitting that shot, I mean, Grady Dick can be a weapon. But again, I think this is going to be a slow-moving process. I don't expect Dick to get a ton of minutes out of the gate in the second unit, and I think Darko is going to bring him along gradually. So I think Grady Dick is going to benefit, just learning the game early, getting adjusted to the NBA level, and there's no rush in terms of bringing him along. So you look at Thad Young, I think he's just going to remain a veteran voice in the locker room, probably not going to get a lot of minutes unless there's an injury. Then you got a guy like Christian Koloko. You hope he's back soon, still dealing with respiratory issues, and he's out indefinitely. So I hope Koloko can come back because, when you look at Koloko, he's a 7-footer, very intriguing center prospect, still so young. I hope to see him back on the NBA court soon. You got Garrett Temple. He's not going to see many minutes again, like Thad Young. He's just going to be that veteran presence in the locker room. And then the wild card to me is Otto Porter Jr. This is a guy who I think can get consistent rotation minutes if he proves it and if he stays healthy, because we know Otto Porter Jr., the biggest thing for him is just to stay healthy. It was nice to see him out there in the Raptors' final preseason game. But you look at Otto Porter Jr., he's won an NBA championship with the Warriors. He can be a very serviceable 3-and-D guy from off the bench, which is a very valuable thing to have on your team. He can hit shots, hit the three. He plays well defensively. So if Otto Porter Jr. can show the Raptors and prove his worth and, show that he can stay healthy, I think he can be a wild card when it comes to that bench, and he could potentially have a good, nice role with this team for the season. So look for Otto Porter Jr. With the Raptors second unit. I think this could be a redeem season from him, especially since he's been unable to stay healthy over the last couple of seasons. So all in all, that looks to be the Raptors opening night roster. Now, we're going to get into my final prediction when it comes to this Raptors team. So the over-under set for the Raptors going into the season is 36.5 wins. I am not even going to second guess this when I say I am smashing the over. I think the Raptors are going to win a few more games than last season. And my final prediction is that the Raptors will finish 6th and get that last playoff spot in the East. I mentioned it at the top of this video. The Eastern Conference, I think, is going to be a lot more wide open than people think. There's a lot of middling teams outside of the Boston Celtics and Bucks, who are clearly the two best teams in their own tier in the East. But outside of them, there's a lot of middling teams, a lot of teams with question marks. Philadelphia with James Harden. How is Cleveland going to look? Are the Nets going to regress? Are the Knicks going to regress? I don't trust the Hawks. Are those younger teams going to take that leap like the Pacers, like the Magic? So that will give an opportunity to a team like the Raptors to essentially move up the standings and get a playoff spot. Oh, Miami, they in many people's eyes, got worse. So there is going to be room here for a team like the Raptors, especially if they can get off to a good start, to really turn heads and really solidify themselves as a playoff team in the Eastern Conference. Because unlike the West, the Eastern Conference is a lot more wide open, and we don't know how a lot of teams are going to look. So the Raptors, if things go well for them, and again, they looked the part and looked like the team we saw in the preseason, there's no doubt in my mind that Darko Rajakovic will get the most out of this roster, and this Raptors team may, in fact, exceed expectations. And I'm just going to give you a bonus prediction here. I think Scotty Barnes is going to win the Most Improved Player of the Year. He's my pick to win that award. So that is basically my season preview for the Raptors going into the season. What are you most looking forward to see? What are your expectations for some of these players that I mentioned? And lastly, what is your prediction for the Raptors for this season? Let me know your thoughts down below. Hit a like on the video, guys. Subscribe to the channel for more. That is it for me. This is Lucas signing off. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, stay safe.